Why are you doing this to us?
Because Jesus told me to.
Well, there's your answer.
Whoa, hey, oh, you can't. She's a woman.
Hey, miss. Do you think you should be afforded mercy just because you're a girl?
No.
Welcome, everybody. You are getting Lost in Plot, the show where we focus on story first, but not exclusively, across the mediums of film, television, video games, really anything with a story. I'm Wade, that's my brother Jake, and today we have for you, The Hunt. Now it's time to go get lost in the plot. We're going to be throwing out some spoilers here, just about everything in this film, so you've been warned. Now let's get into it. So a group of elites gathers at a remote manor to hunt regular Americans for sport. But the elite's plan is about to be derailed because one of the hunted knows the game better than they do. She turns the tables on the killers, picking them off one by one, making her way to the mysterious woman at the center of everything. So this film was planned for a 2020 election year release, and it was quickly pulled and hidden from existence like a 10-year-old tweet that can suddenly get you fired. So what was it the studio didn't want us to see? So you've got a group of rich, vain, liberal elites. They want to hunt backwoods conservatives to the death as a kind of therapy for their intense hatred of the orange man. No one's going to stop them, right? The elites don't get stopped by anybody. Well, in this case, her name is Betty fucking Gilpin. So this is meant to be over-the-top fun. And it is. They satirize both sides of the political divide. It's really the twist reveal in the third act where they stumble a bit when they go into the reveal of how the whole hunt came to be in the first place. The writers get a little bit too cute with some circular logic rationale for why it happens, and it kind of blunders away a little bit of the fun we've been having. But everything is controversial nowadays, and this film is really asking us, the audience, to take a joke. And you can see how well that worked for them based on the fact that their release date got yanked and their film was hidden away. But now we get to talk about The Hunt.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, this is not an offensive movie by any stretch, okay? This is purely satirical. They're having fun with it. They want it to be light. They want you to not take yourself or these issues so seriously. And it is a tragic and unfortunate statement to see how the movie was shelved. They had to change the title. Originally, it was called Red vs. Blue. The movie got shelved and hidden away because it was too potentially controversial for your innocent eyes. Give me a break. There's nothing here that warrants that
Too much
level.
for audiences to see. They decided you were not ready for it. Tensions were too high. We had to pull it away. This thing was going to start trouble, and it's just crazy because it is a comedy, and they play both sides of it. It is truly a satire.
It's a farce.
And they changed the whole advertising campaign for it. If you watch the trailers for it now, they specifically insert certain things to they think they're covering their ass on this, and it just makes it no, that's not what the movie is. That's not what it should be. Leave that stuff out of it. So obviously they had a big mess on their hands and they didn't know what to do with it, and this film kind of got caught in that crossfire. But it's out now if you can go find it. But let's talk about who wrote this.
Yes.
That's right. Now, say my name.
So who wrote this? We've got the man who loves to tease us with mystery boxes and then leaves us with cold farts most of the time.
The man himself.
Damon Lindelof and Nick Cuse are our writing tandem for this one. What is interesting about this is Nick Cuse is the son of Carlton Cuse. Carlton Cuse was, of course, the writing partner for Damon Lindelof on Lost. So how about that?
Yeah, how about that?
Interesting. So now let's start at the beginning for Damon Lindelof. Let's start with Lost. Lost is up there. That's still an audience favorite despite how they ended it. Where did you have Lost?
I really loved it until I didn't love it, and then I hated it. And
the thing is, when you blow the ending, you really blow everything that came before it.
Most people are probably familiar with this after Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So you can.
How can you go back and watch and enjoy
way.
the rest of that stuff when you know that they just totally screw the ending up? And that's what is unfortunately what happened to Lost. After Lost, he went and did some films. He did Star Trek Into Darkness.
Nah, not for me.
No. And then he did Tomorrowland, the Disney film with George Clooney.
Didn't see that one.
You never saw it?
No.
No. That was also a miss, but I think we're skipping over one big one, and that is Prometheus, the prequel to Alien. Had such high expectations for this, and there's a lot of really interesting, cool things in that film, but where did it ultimately fall for you?
Ultimately, it falls in a favorable place for me. I understand that it's flawed and it's stupid and there's a lot wrong with it. You are absolutely right. But I choose to pick up the pieces of the film that I liked as much as I did, and I can still get enough enjoyment even going back and watching that movie again. I can laugh at the stupid parts that make no sense, but I can appreciate the good work that was done.
There's some good ideas in there, and that's kind of the hallmark of Lindelof's work. There's always a lot of good ideas. You don't know if they're going to come together in the end, though. Now, I mentioned it earlier, Nick Cuse, the son of Carlton Cuse. So he's kind of, Damon Lindelof is his writing mentor. So they've teamed up together on a few of the series that Damon Lindelof has done for HBO, including The Leftovers and Watchmen. And then Nick Cuse also did some writing for the Netflix series directed by Cary Fukunaga as Maniac, which I didn't get to see Maniac. You didn't watch that either?
No, I didn't.
Did watch The Leftovers. The Leftovers is
9.1.
Yeah.
9.1! That is a
let's be
huge audience.
Let's be
score.
honest about that one. It's a 9.1 because, you know, maybe the number of fingers I have is the people that have actually seen it and have gone and left that review there. Because, honestly, maybe it's me. It's fine. If it's a 9.1 for you, fine. For me, it's down at a 4. I did not like The Leftovers. I thought the first season was near unwatchable. Just ridiculous exploitation and drama, just awfulness in the first season. Second season was much, much better, and I was really enjoying it, and then they blew the ending again. And then the third one is kind of all just way out of left field, and, you know, if you're stoned and you're watching that, you can get a lot of value out of it. But I think a lot of people like The Leftovers. I'm not one of them.
I didn't take that journey either.
Yeah. But the people that do like The Leftovers, and this is something you'll see, you can't just like it. You have to love it. It's like the best thing HBO's ever done. It's like one of those
Usually
things.
when you run into
They're
those
fanatics.
people, when you run into those people, that's like the Emperor's got no clothes.
And that's
right?
why I'm not surprised at all to see it at a 9.1 here, even though that's a crazy high number for like that kind of a season, that kind of a series. I think it's only, I don't know. I'll have to see how many people actually left reviews for that. And then 2019, they both worked on the HBO Watchmen series. Now,
Everybody's favorite.
who watches The Watchmen? Nobody when it's on HBO, because it only got one season and now it's been canned. I watched the pilot episode and I thought it was an awful interpretation of it. The thing about Watchmen is, and most people that love the graphic novel know this, it is so singularly one guy's vision and one guy's voice, which is Alan Moore, that to adapt it into a film, into a TV series, or to be so audacious as to say, you're going to continue it in a whole different time era, but you're going to write it like he did, was just absurd to me. Absurd. And I think everyone agreed with that. That is the lowest score on our list, is Watchmen at a 5.6. We already talked about the high score, which is The Leftovers. Now, the audience has The Hunt, as you might expect, kind of split at a 6.6 for The Hunt.
Yep, split. Well, let's get into my thoughts on it and break this story down. So my one thing for The Hunt is the confused messaging of this movie. It's so confusing that I myself don't know that I understand it altogether that well. Now, we already talked. This film is a satire. It's a farce. It's not meant to be taken altogether too seriously. So in the interest, at the risk of exposing my own ignorance, I'm going to talk through this movie a bit and see if we can understand a bit of the messaging, all right? So the film opens up with the rich liberal elites and they're hunting the hillbilly deplorables. So I guess the message there is, hey, it's bad to hunt people. Even if they're hillbilly deplorables, you probably shouldn't do it. Because we have the perspective of the hillbilly deplorables, right? And we see as they get hunted, and we feel bad for them. Then it switches perspective and goes to the rich liberal elites, and you find out that all of them have been fired from their lucrative jobs because a bunch of QAnon hillbillies posted a conspiracy theory online about rich liberal elites hunting hillbillies for sport. Okay, well, I guess the message there is don't be a QAnon hillbilly because you might be hunted by the rich white liberals. But I don't know. To me, starting a conspiracy theory online and hunting human beings is a bit of a false equivalency there. I think morally we can probably judge one a bit harsher than we judge the other. Then we get to the worst part of it, or at least the most confusing part for me, which is there's only one hillbilly that has survived. Only one. The rest of them have died, right? And this one, as it turns out, isn't even one of the QAnon hillbillies. She's just a Mary Sue redneck. So I guess, and she comes and kills all the rich liberal elites. So I guess the message at this point is you probably shouldn't hunt the QAnon hillbillies, even though they might kind of deserve it, because you might rope in a Mary Sue redneck who will come and kill the rest of you, who happens to have no political views. She's just a big Mary Sue. She's gonna murder you all. So that's kind of where things go. Now, I don't know, if this movie's trying to tell us that, hey, the culture war is really stupid and we shouldn't hurt people over it, and it's probably more harmful to our health and well-being than we give it credit for, I'm all for that. But to me, that wasn't really the message that you sold. To me, it seemed like you dipped your toes in dangerous waters and then decided to run out of the pool as fast as you possibly could.
I think a part of it is really imagining the worst in the other side, and that's what you'll get. If you really think the worst of the people, you're going to find out that you're right. I think that was a big part of it. But you're right. And I think maybe you read into it too much trying to find a message.
I think I did, to be honest.
I took it much lighter than that. But you're right in that when they reveal how the hunt started, how all these elites gather at the manor to hunt these people, that's where they really go down a wrong turn. Everything up to that point is a lot of fun. I'm enjoying myself. It's kind of light. It's awesome. It's violent.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they did this and they said, well, it's because they put out this tweet about hunting people, but that was only a joke. But it cost them all their jobs because someone out there believed it. Believed the worst in them, so they decided to make the worst actually true. And that's what I said when I said like, circular logic and rationale for it, which is bullshit. It's really the dumbest thing that they do in this film, and they should have just scrapped it. The hunt should have just been like a regular thing that keeps on happening and keeps on happening, and leave it at that. Because it breaks your film too, because if you go back to the early scene where they're on the airplane and the doctor suddenly springs up, and one of these guys that's been drugged and he's supposed to be sleeping in the back is now lumbering around, and the doctor likes nothing, snaps up and grabs a pen and jabs it in his throat and tries to murder him. Now that is the first time he's trying to murder someone because of that twist. Now, we could have believed it if they're doing this thing like every year for 5, 10 years.
What, that was the impression I had
That's what it should have been.
Yeah.
When you kind of did this whole circular thing about, well, you think the worst in me, so now I'm going to make the worst true, and it's like, yeah, but it really is true because you're doing it. That whole circle throws the whole thing, because that whole airplane scene is bullshit. Even when Athena comes in with her high heel and hits the guy in the face with it, we're supposed to believe that's the first time they're killing these people. Even further, when they're setting up their traps, we know they've been trained for 8 months by like an army sergeant, so we're supposed to be okay. No, why couldn't this just be like an annual thing that these guys do? I can buy into it.
It's a better idea that way.
It's
more
simpler that way.
And that's
why, a hell of a lot more interesting.
That's why the messaging confused me, because it's like, well, why did you have to go around?
It's about believing the worst in the other side.
Yeah. Well, then, don't you feel like they pulled a punch with Mary Sue Redneck when they said, oh, look, you're not the person we thought you were. You didn't post this thing online. You have no blood on your hands, or you've done no wrongdoing whatsoever. And it's like, well, why? Now we know absolutely nothing about her
because
character.
It's really the reaction at the end from Hilary Swank when she learns that she's wrong, and she just says, whoops. And it's because when you go down this path, it really doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. You know, they kind of say that it does, but ultimately it doesn't. And you call her Redneck Mary Sue, and I understand that to a point. I thought she was a badass, awesome heroine. I thought she was so good. And here's why. Because I don't think all of the Mary Sue stuff applies to her. Because one, she's got a shitty rundown life, right? But we don't know that. She works at a rental car company. She's not setting the world on fire.
But we don't know
She's
how
a veteran.
much...
She works at a rental car company. She says so herself. She's like, I'm kind of, crazy. I'm just off, and I'm just not happy in my normal life. So this is kind of my opportunity again to really do something and to really taste that other side.
But I thought they negated that with the twist where they said, you're not this identity that we thought you were. I thought it would have been better if she was the rundown person that they described.
Well, that goes back to what I said about believing the worst in people.
Right.
You just assume that, well, they're all bad. They're all deplorables. They're all horrible. Doesn't matter which one we grab. They're all going to be bad. But she was an awesome, and I thought she carried this film. She was my favorite part of this film. I understand why you say she's a Mary Sue, because she can do everything so well. But the way she delivered her lines, and just the fact that, her character doesn't really need to change because she's someone that was unfairly yanked out of their life and thrown into an awful situation. So her journey is kind of to get back to where she was. And then she realizes, you know, where I was is not really where I want to be. I want to be somewhere else.
Right, and her character didn't
Because she wasn't
But her
happy.
character didn't need to change, and she didn't have a flaw, which to me made her that less interesting. I was with her, and I liked her initially, but the twist for me ruined it. It took everything away, because the person I thought I knew in the third act, you changed everything, and she's not the person, so I'm like, oh, I know nothing about this person.
Yeah, you do. What don't you know about her?
Well, they say, here's the identity of this one person, and you think that it's all her, and then they change it, and then you virtually know nothing, and then you say, well, she works
she's
at
the
rental
other
car.
Crystal that works at the rental
If
car,
you
but
can
it's basically
trust
the
that.
same.
If you can trust it, but they tack that on right at the
I
end.
think you can trust it.
Maybe you can, maybe you can't. For whatever reason, it completely broke me off of her character. And I think that, you know, to see the worst in the other people, you know, oh, you see the worst in, you know, these liberals, you imagine that they're capable of such a thing, which is outlandish and ridiculous, but then you might actually trick them into doing such a thing. But, I don't know, to me, it would have been better had she had skin in the game, because Hilary Swank's character did. She was unapologetically on one side of the argument. It would have been nice to have the two kind of reconcile some point.
I think she was, by virtue of the place where she came from, the job that she had, the position that she had. She said so herself when she talks about, she gives the amazing delivery about the box turtle and the jackrabbit.
Correct.
What she's talking about there is a rigged game. She's in a rigged game. She's one that's always been that turtle that's always lost to these other people. That's what she's saying about that, is that her life is shitty, and now this is an opportunity for her to really strike back.
That's true. That's fair points. Fair points all. All right, well, let's talk more about this in Dead or Alive and see where this movie ends up.
Okay, we're wrapping this one up in Dead or Alive. We've got The Hunt, and I'll go first. For me, this is Alive at a 6 out of 10. Now, this was so close to being a little bit higher, but we talked about it earlier. The third act twist reveal about what created this hunt is what throws everything before it. And it's funny because we're back with Damon Lindelof. We do have kind of a mystery box. These people all wake up drugged in the field. They find their weapons. What's going on? Really, the question is, why are you doing this? And they kind of lay it out through the film. It's always like, they should know why we're doing this. Why are we doing this? They should know. And then when they tell us, Damon actually gives us the reveal in this film. Usually he doesn't even give you the reveal. It's just like the mystery stays. Right.
Go home and think about it.
Yeah.
It'll grow.
Here, he gives you the reveal, and the reveal is just stupid. But it doesn't quite blow up the film for me. It can still keep going, and it keeps going all on the strong performance from Betty Gilpin as the lead, Crystal. I think that character was just awesome. I think she was awesome all the way through. That scene at the end with Hilary Swank, where she's given that goddamn grilled cheese speech about which cheese melts better on the breeze. Like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to kick her ass. Get some, bitch! I'm ready! Let's go. Great moments like that, but yes, 6 out of 10. It could have been better. Not nearly as controversial as the studio feared or people made it out to be.
No, definitely not. But for me, it is dead. It comes in at roughly a 4 out of 10 for me. And it's a film that, in my opinion, just didn't have the strength of its convictions. I thought it's actually a pretty good idea. Take these political caricatures of people, right? Because that's really what it is. It's demeaning and debasing people and turning them into stereotypes. And let's take the stereotypes and put them in this exploitation film, and let's have them fight and have some fun with it.
And it was, wasn't it?
No, I don't think it pushed
was
it far
fun.
enough. I think it, like I said, it dipped the toe in, then shied away, rather than plunging into the pool and really having some fun. And to me, it's
warming is real, asshole.
a funny moment. You could have done all sorts of stuff like that, but they didn't do more of it, unfortunately. And instead, it's like they pull their punches, and then they think, well, we'll give you this kind of mystery thing and kind of pull on the motivations, and it just didn't land. It didn't work.
You didn't need the reveal, is what it comes down to. You just didn't need the reveal.
No, and the saddest thing about it is the nervous Nancy way that everybody's reacted to it, because it's just ridiculous. If we really take this stuff that seriously, that we can't put this media out and people can't laugh at themselves for an hour and a half,
It's
no
just
matter
silly.
which side of the spectrum
Who's
you're
gonna
on,
get
that's
offended
a
about
really
that?
sad commentary on our culture that we fall into that particular point. We're so sensitive about our political sensibilities.
This was really meant
Give
to be
me
a
break.
joke on both sides, and with a message about not seeing the worst in people, and setting up this rigged game. And you feel that as you're watching through the film. It's like, who wouldn't want the opportunity with someone who's always that winner and that has the rigged game and tells you that they're gonna chase you and they're gonna come get you, the opportunity to stick a live grenade into his pants and watch him explode. Come on.
Guys, have you seen The Hunt? If you haven't, you probably should, because it'll certainly evoke some kind of opinion.
It's
out
on
of it.
HBO Max. It's streaming now. You know, it's a short. What was it, like an hour and a half?
Yeah, not particularly long. Go see it.
Light.
Come back. Leave your thoughts in the comments section down below. Let us know. Were you terribly offended? Do you think that this movie should be unmade? I mean, give me a break. But if that's how you feel, please let us know about that. If you liked this video, please leave us a thumbs. If you loved it, consider a subscription. Look for us on Twitter. And we will see you all on the next one.